But see, that takes an enormous amount of work. That takes an enormous amount of soul-searching, responsibility-taking, book reading, facing your own shadows and inner demons and transcending them and overcoming them and admitting how wrong and stupid you were and opening your mind to new perspectives and all the stuff that I talk about with my work. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask. Most people don't want to do that. Instead, most people just want to go to Walmart and buy a pill off the shelf that will do that for them. And so in this case, that's going to be heroin. You can't buy heroin at Walmart, but this is just an analogy, right? This is what we're looking for. Like all of us just wish that we can go to Walmart right now and pay $10 for a cure to our problems. And that essentially, when we want that cure, what we're really asking for is we're asking for spiritual growth. We want to pay $10 for spiritual growth without actually doing any of the work so that we feel love. That's all any of us wants, is to feel love. That's it. And so when you're not given the kind of love that you crave, especially when you're young, this creates trauma. And then that is what leads you down these dark paths and dark rabbit holes. You see, and if you're not getting the sex that you crave, you're going to go down the dark, men's rights, toxic men's rights rabbit holes, like the MGTOW movements and the black pill and red pill and all this garbage. Maybe you'll get into pickup, some toxic form of pickup. That's also possible. I've seen that happen. And then, if you don't get the kind of love you want with money, then you'll go into some sort of criminal activities. You'll become a thief or a scammer or a con artist or a fraudster or whatever. And if you don't get the kind of love or sense of community, a healthy sense of community, that, again, is just you getting the love that you want, then you're going to get involved with some sort of fascist, neo-Nazi, white supremacist, nationalist movement in your country, whatever that is. And don't think that, this sort of white supremacy is just a problem in America or in the West. I mean, you have fascist nationalist movements in every country, in India, in China, all over Europe, in South America, in Africa, parts of Asia, everywhere. Every country has these nationalist, ultra right-wing nationalist fascist groups. In Japan, they have it as well. And all of them offer you that sort of cheap Walmart solution. But of course, this solution is not sustainable. And it can very easily destroy your life, and it will cause harm and great damage to your community in the end. See? And in a sense, this is what we're seeing with the Trumpism phenomenon. The reason that Trumpism is so appealing is because right now we're in late-stage capitalism. With late-stage capitalism here, in America at least, a lot of people are not earning the kind of wages they used to earn. With globalization, that's right. Wages have been equalizing across the world. That means the high wages that used to exist in America can no longer be sustained because America used to be this isolated bubble. But now all those barriers have broken down because of telecommunication and the internet, satellites, fiber optics, airplane travel, and all these sorts of things. Tourism, globalism. And so the jobs and the money is basically spread more around the world. It's equalizing. So whereas before America was up here and China was down here, we're starting to equalize now. Now, of course, this is great for China from its perspective, but it's bad for America from America's perspective because it feels like America is losing. In fact, this is an overall good trend because it's actually creating more fairness and justice around the world, but it doesn't feel like that from many Americans' point of view. So their salaries are dropping, and of course, they're looking for somebody to blame and to scapegoat. So who are they going to scapegoat? They're going to scapegoat the globalist, Jew, social justice warrior, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, pedophiles, and the Hollywood elites and the Wall Street elites, and this notion of elites. Let's just blame all of our problems on the elites. This is very popular. This idea is becoming very popular, not just on the right, but even on the left. There's a sort of almost a cult of blaming everything on the elites on the left as well. amongst progressives. Now, of course, elites do bear some responsibility, but overall, this is way overblown. And it's a game that the ego is playing, you see. And so now you come home from a dead-end job, you're tired, but what you do is you log into YouTube and you watch your favorite YouTuber rant against the elites. And this gives you a sense of purpose. And you're like, yeah, those elites, they're pedophiles and they're Jews and they're evil and they're from Hollywood and all of this. And they're not like me. They're not like us. And we got to get them. We got to get our guns and we got to fight them tooth and nail. Otherwise, this is going to destroy America. This is just going to destroy the land of my ancestors. And I'll be damned if I let that happen. I'll be damned if I let some liberal, transgender pedophiles take over America, over my dead body. And so then you go to the gun store and you buy yourself some guns, you buy a case of ammunition, and you stock up on supplies for the coming apocalypse and civil war. And then you listen to talk radio that talks about the upcoming civil war that's going to be happening. And you go to the shooting range and you pay them money, for target practice, because you really start to believe that there's a civil war coming. And you start to do target practice on, on targets. And maybe you put a face of Hillary Clinton on the target that you're shooting at, and this and that, and then you hang out. See, but you're not doing it alone. You got a group of buddies at your shooting range who you are also doing this with you, and then you form a militia group. And now every weekend or twice a month, you're going out into the wilderness and you're shooting guns and you're preparing explosives and you're preparing for the upcoming civil war. And this paranoia now becomes your entire life. And this is the toxic life purpose that I'm talking about. But as all of this is happening, it's happening so slowly and gradually, and the ego feels so validated by this, it has now a sense of belonging. Now you found your calling in life. This feels so good. It feels better than a shot of heroin. And there's nobody in society telling you that this is more dangerous than heroin. Because culturally, we all know heroin is bad. And even then, still, many of us will fall into that trap with opioids or something like that. But nobody ever teaches you the dangers of this toxic life purpose that you could unconsciously be developing in your life. You're not aware that you're developing it. You didn't have the intention at the outset 5 years ago to say, oh yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to join this militia group and we're going to be training every weekend against the coming civil war, against the crazy pedophile liberals. It didn't start that way. You gradually, slowly were brainwashed into it by the news that you watch, by the YouTubers that you follow, by the ways you think about the world, by your failure to take responsibility for yourself and so forth. And by ultimately not consciously working on developing a healthy, selfless, loving life purpose. See, that vacuum in your heart and in your soul that was created ultimately by your lack of responsibility. That vacuum was now filled by the lesser jihad. And so the irony is, of course, is that these right-wingers are committing exactly the same mistake that the radical Islamists in the Middle East are committing. They found an enemy, and they're going all in against that enemy. Damn the costs to society or to themselves or even to their family and so on. Because it feels good to have that sense of meaning and purpose in one's life. And developing that on your own is extremely difficult. Most people don't even know that this is a possibility, that you can develop a life of a conscious, loving, selfless purpose on your own. But see, that's difficult. That's a difficult road to walk because you're usually walking it alone. There's nobody there helping you. You're trying to figure it out by yourself. Your family and friends won't really be supportive. They won't really understand what you're doing because they themselves don't know how it works. School doesn't teach you how to do it. College, university doesn't teach you how to develop a life purpose. Businesses and corporations, they don't care about whether you have a life purpose or not, whether it's conscious or not. In fact, they're going to try to seduce you off the path with jobs and careers that are toxic and that just pay really well, but involve you doing some kind of devil's work in order to get that big paycheck.